Hi, this is Kerry with Trail Traveler, and welcome to another video in our series on these Chinese diesel heaters. This one is from Hcalory. This is their newest design, very compact toolbox style case. Really like this. It is really nice form factor. The Vevor had an internal fuel tank as well, but it was on top of the heater itself. And so it made it tall and very narrow, but it made it very difficult to actually stack anything on top of it if this was sitting in our trailer or in our Jeep. Being this, squarish platform with a larger base just allows us to put stuff on top of it a little bit easier. So I think from a portability point of view, this is a nicer design. In terms of functionality, they're identical. There shouldn't be any difference in functionality. But let's take a look at what comes with this, what it's going to take to get it up and running, and some of the pros and cons of this particular setup. So let's start with what's included in the package. I'm not going to unbox it, but I am going to go through what's included. Well, first, we have this, what would appear to be a power brick, and that's exactly what it is. This is a 110 or 120 volt outlet power supply. So it's going to take your household current and convert it to the 12 volts that this thing runs on. So that's awesome if you're going to be running this in a workshop, a garage, a shed, something like that, where you have 120 volt power and you just want to run this thing versus running it off of a battery. So the fact that that's included is really nice. I've not seen this on any other unit besides this one from any manufacturer. So having a 12 volt power supply is super nice. For us, that's going to play in when we're testing it, when we're setting it up, we're doing configurations, we're running long-term tests outside in the cold weather in the driveway. Those situations, I'd much rather just run it off 120 than constantly having to make sure I have a charged battery. So that's really nice that that's included. Now, it does also include a same power cord with positive and negative ends on it, so you can just connect this to a battery. You can snip them, which is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to cut these off and attach that to your basic cigarette lighter style 12 volt receptacle, so I can plug it into either our trailer directly or into one of the Blue Eddy batteries that we have. We use both the EB55 and the AC70. So that's nice. Has a manual. This is basically the same as any of the other diesel heater manuals, with the exception that the pictures actually look like the product, which I cannot say for all of them out there. It goes through the key fob, how to set it up, the different working modes, some of the settings on the controller, how to download the app, the how the app works, the fault codes. Now, I would say if you are anywhere, if you're keeping this in your garage or, it's not moving anywhere, keep this handy. If you're overlanding, you're camping somewhere, just take a picture of this so you have it on your phone, so that if it throws an error code, you can look up and see exactly what that code is. And that's it. Otherwise, it's in a handful of different languages. So the entire manual is literally only a few pages long. So we'll put that aside. It also includes your standard diesel heater muffler. Nothing special about this. It's just encasing, and it has essentially what looks like a big spring in it to just kind of soften up the sound a little bit. So there's your muffler that's included, a couple pipe clamps, and it has an exhaust pipe. So that's actually going to go on right here. So this little guy comes off. We're going to attach the pipe in there, and we're good to go. With some of the other heaters, you'll notice that there's also like a black pipe with a big like filter thing on the end for the intake of the air. Now we're talking about the diesel heater itself, not the hot air output. For the diesel motor to run, it has to have fresh air going in, and then this is the exhaust coming out. Well, in this case, instead of having a separate pipe that you have to run somewhere, it just goes into this port right here. So that's pretty darn handy that we don't have to do anything else for the air intake for the motor. All we have to do is put the exhaust on here and we're good to go. So setup on this thing, super easy. Pop the exhaust on and we're set. So let's take a look at the features here. First off, we do have an internal fuel tank, unlike the older style Hcalory heater that had the external fuel tank that you actually had to drill holes in and you had to do some setup work on it. This is all included. This is ready to go. Put fuel in here, get a power source, you're ready to rock and roll. And we can see how much fuel we have inside the tank through this window. The large hole here, this is for the hot air to come out. So we're not blowing exhaust out of this. It's heating up this system in here, these heat sinks, blowing air over that, and we get clean, dry air coming out, going into our workshop or set shed, or in our case, our rooftop tent. Let's keep spinning it around here, and we can see the front has these metal clasps on here. Again, the original Hcalory heater had plastic ones, so there's that. Inside, we have our heating unit and our fuel tank. Somewhere in there is a fuel pump. I can't see it. It's definitely buried in there. So, question is going to be, when this thing is all sealed up like this, how loud is that pump? And I can't wait to see, because a lot of the reviews have said this thing is very quiet. So can't wait to see what that is going to be like. And then on the back, we have the fresh air intake and our power port. So pretty simple here. Now I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to maybe figure out a way to put a mount on here so I can run a hose on here. So when it's really cold out, we can run air from the tent into here and then out back into the tent. So we're recirculating that air. So instead of trying to heat up air that's at 0 degrees or 10 degrees or whatever, the more the tent heats up, the warmer the air that's coming in here, the more efficient this unit can be. So that's going to be a project we're going to look into doing down the road. So on top, we have these little covers. One of them just has the remote, very simple, on, off, plus, minus, same as all the other remotes that are out there. And then on this side, we have the controller. So I like that it's covered by something. It's not waterproof by any stretch, but where a lot of the other heaters just have it sitting on the outside, it's totally exposed to the elements, as well as getting hit by things, getting damaged. Having it underneath here definitely protects it. And like I said, it's not giving it any protection from elements, but it is at least covered. If we were in some light snow, I really wouldn't be concerned about it. It's good enough. And I may even take some light foam and run it around there just to try and seal it up a little bit better from the elements. So that's your basics of the heater itself. Really, we need to set it up to some power, put some fuel in it, and fire it up. Now, is this ready to go out of the box? No, it's not. If you are running this in, again, your garage, a shed, a room that you wanted to heat, and you had a way of venting the exhaust outdoors through under a door, out a window, through a hole in the wall, whatever, you could just run this as is. Not a problem. However, because we're going to be running this into our rooftop tent, we have to come off of here with a hose and go up, so we have to buy a hose to go on here. Now, with the Vevor, what we found was a 3-inch hose going to the rooftop tent would cause the system to overheat. So we had to come right off of here, go into a 4-inch hose and deal with that. So I still have the 3-inch and the 4-inch, and we're going to try them on here and see if the 3-inch works or if we have to move to the 4-inch for efficiency's sake. And then, of course, like I said, we're going to try the recirculation thing and see how that works out. Now, this unit on Amazon is $209. So compare that to some of the other diesel heaters out there that are quite a bit cheaper. You know, you can get them in the $125 range. Is this worth $85 more? That's a big question. What's going to make it worth more money? Well, one, there's less setup time. We don't have to deal with the air intake hose. That's just the little plug there on the bottom. So all we have to do is plug in exhaust. So one less thing to set up. It's a nice form factor. I do like this form factor. It packs nicer, whether it's in the Jeep or in the trailer. We can slide it somewhere and be able to put stuff on top of it. And I'm not concerned about this one tipping over, where that more vertical orientation one, it actually gets top heavy when it's full of fuel because the fuel's on the top. So that thing tipping over is definitely a concern. You have to raise it off the ground to get the hoses out, where this one is already off the ground. So we don't have to really deal with that. Too close to something and you may get burn marks. So you might want to raise it up a little bit. I want to take it. Now these feet do not have any screws or anything in them that we could attach some extensions, but we could easily make some extensions for here. I may even 3D print some that just come down another inch or so. So it just raises it a little bit higher off the ground so I don't have to worry about the pipe there getting too hot. Now, one thing I do want to mention is this does work with the same app that most of the other ones work with. So it's the Air Heater BLE app that you can get for Android or iOS. That's the way to control this thing, or right from the controller itself, or the remote control. The remote control just has on, off, up, and down. The app, I think, is the best way to control these because it allows you to set the levels. It allows you to see what's going on, make sure the barometer is working. If there's an error code, it tells you what the error is. There's more control and more data when you're using the app. So the fact that it has that is great. Now this one is also supposed to have a built-in barometer, so when we're at higher altitudes, we don't have to deal with setting the pump speeds and things. It should automatically adjust for the altitude. I think it's good for 16,000 feet. We're never at those altitudes. When we're camping, we're anywhere from 8,000 feet to maybe 12,000 feet in that general range. We tend to not go over 11 because then you're out of the tree line, and just camping out in the open is really not that fun. You usually wind up with wind. So we're generally in the 8 to 10,000 foot range when we're out camping, and this should automatically adjust for that. So we're looking forward to trying that. So all we have left to do, get her back up in the garage, get some power to it, get some fuel on it, get a little hose on here. We are going to run it first for about 5 or 6 hours just to burn out any residual manufacturing oils or anything, so we don't have any smells coming into the tent when we go to use it for the first time. So we'll get it up there, get her fired up, and we can hear the fuel pump in here, see how quiet that is, and if need be, maybe we'll do some tweaks like we've shown in another video on how to quiet this thing down. I'm hoping we don't have to do anything, but if we do, we already have some tricks up our sleeves to quiet this thing down quite a bit. So let's get her packed up. Let's go give it a shot. We've got the heater set up, it's running. We've got air going in. We've got some nice hot air coming out. The system is on level 4 right now. So it's showing 146 degrees inside here, which is pretty nice. Be able to warm something up pretty good, except when it's this stupid cold outside. It's like 8 degrees, 9 degrees right now. It was very cold here. But what I wanted to show you was the sound level. There's not a lot of blower noise. I can live with that, but the ticking from the fuel pump is pretty loud. Now I've got the microphone right here, so it's only about a foot away. Should be able to hear that pretty clearly. So that's one thing I'm hoping to be able to fix, although you know, there's some issues with getting into the box. It's not a very user serviceable system. We'll talk more about that, but you know, the fuel pump noise is the worst thing about any of these heaters. And I've yet to see one that comes out of the box quiet. So we have some ideas on how to quiet it down, but we're gonna have to get into the box to do that. And right now, well, that's a project for another day. Right now, we're just talking about what is this thing like out of the box. This might not bother you if you've got it on the ground, you're in a rooftop tent, you know, you're 8-9 feet away from it. It's not going to be horrible, but I want to eliminate as much of this noise as possible. So we're going to do what we can to make it better. But the system does work. It works great. I've ran this thing for, I don't know, probably 30 hours at this point and have not had any issues with it. So let's get back in and talk some more about how I feel about this heater. All right, we've been able to do some testing over the past week with the Hcalory unit here. There's some pros, there's some cons, and also I think you need to make sure that you have proper expectations of what a diesel heater like this is capable of doing. So let's go over what I like about the unit. And I like a lot of it. I really do, actually. The metal latches on here, nice upgrade from their previous model that had plastic ones. Internal fuel tank, I like that. Kind of just keeps everything really nice. Of any diesel heater, this is the tightest footprint that I've seen. This is actually really nice. And it basically has a larger fuel tank than most of them. So this should go up to about 5 liters, about 1.3 gallons of diesel. The usage on it is pretty nice. It runs just fine. It kind of sips diesel like you'd expect from a diesel heater. It uses the Bluetooth app to control it. I mean, I've never actually touched the controller on here. I just use the app, or I can open up this, wrong one. This is the controller. Over here, I can open up this one, grab the remote control, turn it on or off, and go up or down in the levels with the remote. So all that's really nice. That's a really nice feature right there. Metal construction, so I like that. Very heavy duty, pretty nice. Got a power input right here. That's nice, I like that. This is the fresh air intake, and this is not standard right here. This is a piece that I 3D printed to allow me to put a hose on the air intake and run that up to our tent. That way I have the hot air coming out one side, going into the tent, circulating in the tent, coming out another hose and going in here. That way I'm recirculating the air, making the unit more efficient than taking freezing cold air in the back, trying to heat it up and pump it into the tent. Being able to recirculate it makes everything run a little bit nicer. Still, we're going to talk about expectations down the road here a little bit on the video. On the side here, we've got the exhaust port coming out the side. One area of improvement. And now what I've seen from Hcalory in the past, over the last 2 years, is they tend to listen to the people who actually use these and have improved and improved this to get it to where it is today. Compact, efficient, all that stuff, all mounted inside, very clean. So I hope that they watch this video and talk amongst themselves and come up with a few improvements that I have. the problem here, even though this is nice and it comes out the side and it's very clean, there's very little clearance here. Maybe, I don't know, 15 millimeters or something, like a quarter of an inch. So any surface that this thing is sitting on is going to get burned. Whether it's grass, which could start a fire, whether it's wood, whatever, this is going to get burned because this is really, really hot. And all it needs to have is longer legs. If the legs were just a little bit longer, like say an inch, to raise this thing up, keep this where it's at, that would be fantastic and eliminate a lot of problems. So hopefully that's something that they can improve in another version, simply some longer legs. I will probably make something, 3D print something, whatever, to make some extensions to lift this up a little higher off the ground. So that's one area of improvement that I'd like to see. On the back, this is the hot air output, and we have a nice viewport here of the available fuel. So that's really nice. Another place for improvement would be the lip here for the exhaust, or the hot air output. Most of your pipe clamps are thicker than this lip, and you cannot use a hose clamp with thumb screws because there's no room to get it to turn in here. This should come out another ½ inch or so. So I can move that pipe clamp away from the casing and be able to get a thumb screw style pipe clamp on there. I would love to set this up without tools. And if all my pipe clamps had thumb screws, I would need no tools. As it is, I have to use a pipe clamp that uses a screwdriver in order to get this on here. And this is just such a tight fit. You get the hose on here, you push that clamp in, and sometimes you end up with a leak because you just don't have enough hose on there. Having more lip on here would be a huge improvement. Now, I can't 3D print something to go on here because it's the hot end. And coming out of here, you could have temperatures well in excess of 150, 190 degrees. And so 3D printed parts are going to melt, or they're going to get hot and put out toxic fumes. So while I can do it on the back where there's no heat really going, being exchanged, that's going to hold up fine. But on the hot air output, I cannot use a 3D printed piece because that would be dangerous. Okay, so we've gone all the way around, showed you the different things here. Inside, I love the fuel tank in here. I really dig here. However, I'm going to address a couple of concerns that I have. Number one is the sound of the fuel pump. Now, if you are using this in a shed, a garage, a workshop, a small room, a bedroom, wherever you have this thing, in most of those conditions, the noise of the fuel pump's not going to bother you. So that's just the reality. And for a lot of people who are out camping and using this in a tent, it may not bother you. It bothers me. When we're out camping, I don't want to hear anything. I want to hear nature. I want to hear, you know, if there's an animal walking up, I want to hear nothing from my equipment. And this fuel pump is pretty loud. It's no louder than the Vevor. It's exactly the same fuel pump. So I got exactly the same result that I was looking for. So it's no quieter, regardless of the other reviews of this that I've seen. It is no quieter than any other right off the shelf diesel heater. So Hcalory, hope you're paying attention. Longer legs, get that up for the exhaust. Quieter fuel pump. Don't worry, there's more. Oh, and the lip on the hot air output. So 3 things there. There's going to be 4, trust me. So, yeah, I wish this came configured in such a way that it was quiet, and it's not. So if you watch the video I've got up here, I did a whole video on how to quiet down a diesel heater. And we got our other unit to be very, very quiet. So to the point where it does not bother me when it's running. So I'm going to take what I learned from that and apply it to this, or so I thought. So first step, I take these 2 screws out, no problem. I can get the fuel tank out, not a big deal. I still can't get to the fuel pump because it's buried way under here, underneath the heater unit. So I'm like, all right, well, I'll just take these screws out. There's 2 on the side, 2 on the other side, 1 on the front and back. I'll take those screws out, lift this up, be able to really soundproof this thing well. I'll be able to get to the fuel pump and do all that. Turns out, these aren't screws. These are black rivets. So there is no taking these out. Well, no easy way of taking them out. In order to get to the inside of here, I'm going to have to take a drill bit and grind the top of these rivets off so I can disassemble this. Now, is that just a problem for me because I want to try and make this thing quieter? No. This is a concern that I have for anybody that buys this unit, because things fail, right? Your fuel pump may fail. Now, I carry an extra fuel pump just in case. When we're out camping, if the fuel pump goes out, I want to be able to just replace it. The fact that these are rivets means I cannot do that. Think about that for a moment. I don't take a drill and my drill bits with me when we go camping, so I have no way of disassembling this in the field to replace that fuel pump, or to replace a clogged fuel filter, or to replace a broken fuel line. Any of those things that can go wrong inside of here, they're not serviceable because these are rivets. So let's keep track here. Hcalory. We want feet to come up a little bit more to give more protection around the exhaust. We want a bigger lip around the hot air output so we can get a hose on there better. We want screws on the side to make this system user serviceable. And preferably just a quiet fuel pump, which would make the whole thing so much better. Still, even if this thing was dead silent out of the box, I'm still going to have an issue with these being rivets and there being no way to take this thing apart to service it. To me, that's kind of a big deal. It's not going to stop me from using it. It's not going to stop me from recommending it. It's not going to stop me from taking this out when we go, but I am going to find a way to deal with this. Once I remove these rivets, I'm going to come up with some way of putting screws in here and being able to close it back up. What that is yet, I haven't the foggiest idea, because I have to get down there to put a nut on there. So I'll figure something out. Just don't know what yet. Even if I have to epoxy nuts on the back side, I'll figure it out, or nut certs, something. I'll figure out some way of dealing with that to make this work. So those are my issues with it. Other than that, I think it's a great unit. I absolutely love the size. For being able to stick this in our trailer or our Jeep, being able to have a more flat spot to stack other things on top of it, I think it's great. It just, you know, sips away at diesel. It doesn't use a lot of battery. So for those, this is a great unit. However, let's get back to setting expectations. And I think this is one of the biggest things that people are going to have a problem with when it comes to any diesel heater. Not just Hcalory, not Vevor, any diesel heater. I'm going to go over setting some expectations so you know what you're getting into when you get one of these. Now, we've been testing it in extreme temperatures, minus 10 degrees Fahrenheit. That is really stinking cold. The coldest we went down to was minus 14 Fahrenheit. What you can expect from here, when you're using a full recirculation system like I have on here, you can expect upwards of about a 30-degree difference in temperature. Okay? If it's 10 degrees outside, I'm not going to have too much of a problem getting this thing up to maybe 50 degrees. You know, that's a nice big spread. 10, that's a 40-degree spread. And that's max. That's running this thing on level 8, nonstop, all night long. It's going to chew through extra battery. It's going to chew through extra fuel. If it's 30 degrees outside, trying to get this thing to 60, no brainer. It's going to do it on a lower setting. It's going to sip less fuel. It's going to do just great. That 30-degree difference is almost ideal. Being able to run it on a lower setting means less noise, less battery use, less diesel. As you get into those lower temperatures, 10 degrees, 0 degrees, minus temperatures, minus 10 degrees, I could not get this thing over 50 degrees. Not a chance when it was down into those temperatures. It would struggle to even get there after running for 2 hours nonstop on the highest settings. And if you turned it off for a moment, poof, that temperature just plummeted so fast that by the time you could turn this back on and have it generating heat, you've already lost over 20, 25 degrees of temperature inside the tent. So it will drop very fast in cold temperatures. Now, if you've got a better insulated tent and it can hold some of the heat in, you're going to be fine. But your rooftop tents, there's no insulation on them. They're going to lose heat super fast. So what are you getting into when you get a diesel heater? Ideally, no more than about a 30-degree difference between the outside temperature and what you want the tent to be. You want it to be 60 degrees like we have in our house at night. 30 degrees is probably going to be about your max that you're going to be able to go to. If you're okay with it getting down to 50 degrees in your tent, you want a couple extra blankets, maybe you got to sleep in some jammies, then adjust down 30 degrees from there, and that 20-degree temperature is going to do you just fine. However, if you want to camp in 0-degree temperature, in 15-degree temperature, in minus 10-degree temperature, understand you're not going to get that tent up to 50, 60 degrees. It's not going to happen. Not this unit, not any unit that's going to be affordable or that you're going to take with you on a camping trip. It's not going to happen. So understanding what you're getting with a diesel heater, having the proper expectations is going to set you up for a lot more success than going out and not knowing what to expect. So that's my take on it. The Hcalory unit is definitely a winner. It's going to be our go-to unit, even if I have to get in and do some modifications, do some tweaks, figure out some ways of utilizing it that make my life a little bit easier, figure out how to get in here and do the mods and get it back together so that it continues to be user serviceable down the road. Those are going to be big things for me moving forward. I would still recommend the unit. I think they did a great job. And if they continue to listen to the people who use these things and they can make some improvements on here, the next unit is probably going to be an absolute game changer. So thanks for watching, everybody. This has been Kerry with Trail Traveler. Be safe out there and stay warm. We'll see you on the trails.